All right. I think I did it. I think I figured out all the buttons to push, all the words to type. Looks like we are live. Live. Welcome to Matt Reviews Books, and I am Matt. And this is the first ever live stream on January 1st, 2019. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe we'll do it again. I am exceedingly nervous. I don't know what's happening. So far, so good. I guess at this point, there's zero people watching. I didn't do any lead up to this. I didn't do basically any marketing. I didn't post on social media. I'm just pushing play. I did, however, write a checklist. Um, so I do have a little bit of a list going. Points that I want to hit. We're trying to keep this contained. I can talk. The thing you don't see with all the videos that I do edit is I can just talk and yap, and I also say and a lot, which is why I created my list, my bullet points as you will. I also misspeak quite often. If this is the first time you ever come across this, I don't do live streams. This is the first ever one, like I mentioned. Um, this is a book review channel dedicated to older books, books that were one-time bestsellers but aren't any longer. And in fact, you're more likely to find them in used bookstores, in your uncle's garage, in boxes, and lien sales. Yeah, that other thing. They're used books, but you always see on the cover of them. They'll always say, New York Times bestseller for 51 weeks or 100 and whatever. So and a lot of times they'll also be award winners. But the other thing is that they're older books. They could have been around for, 70, 80 years, or 10. At this point, the way publishing works is there's so many companies that are publishing so many books, and printers are putting out actual physical books every year that actually within a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, they're old. They're forgotten about. Nobody knows about them, even though they're pretty good. They're still good. After all, what is word of mouth but a friend saying, "Have you read this one book?" And it turns out that that book's been around since like 1993, and you're just now discovering it. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm yelling at a camera. So, if all that sounds like a good idea to you, go ahead and subscribe. I think the subscribe button is the same on live streams. I got to admit, I've only watched a couple, 3 live streams, so I don't really know what the other side, what your side is looking like. Um, you know what I'm saying? So, this is the first time for me. I'm going in kind of blind. I don't know what to expect. Don't know what you're expecting from this. So moving along, if that does sound like a good idea, then subscribe. And 2019, 2018 was really, really bad. I got to admit, consistency was off from the year before. I didn't have any plan, didn't have any kind of strategy, nothing. It was just sort of making stuff up as I went along. There's a lot of change happening last year, and I don't roll with the punches very well. I'm not very, very good on my feet. I don't think quick, which is why, hey, look, I'm going live, and it's already 4 minutes. I don't want to take up your time. Whatever. It's my channel. So, let's see. You probably have noticed, if you pay attention to the little notes under videos, how long ago they were published, when they were published. It's been a couple of weeks since the last book review. I was on a roll, came out of November strong, did 30 days straight, daily vlogging in November for National Novel Writing Month. And then I got a couple of book reviews under my belt, got them published. So we went to Lord of the Rings. I got Fellowship of the Ring up, and The Two Towers, and then it's been a couple of weeks, and that just didn't I was going to finish strong. And in fact, this was going to happen yesterday, but feeling like crap. I've been feeling really off, like feeling unwell, unhealthy for a couple weeks now. And I pulled a muscle or pinched a nerve in my leg a couple of days ago, and that didn't feel good. So I didn't do anything. And like I said, I'm not quick on my feet. I don't adapt. And I don't do batch recordings either. So every week is a whole new production cycle. Each video uh, usually takes about, with the day job, usually takes about 3 days to from recording to um, publishing. Now, so we're going to take care of those last couple of weeks that I wanted to get done in December. We're going to do that here today on Matt Reviews Books. And then we're going to switch over to what's coming up in 2019, or what I hope will come up, what I hope will happen in 2019. First of all, let's hit. What are we getting? God, Book 3, The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Yay! Yay! I should probably sound a little bit more enthusiastic about it since we're live. Return of the King. This one has probably one of my favorite. Let's see, where is it in here? Did I bookmark it first? Probably not. Looks like these dog ears that I have in here from before, or my son. My son has read these like 4 or 5 times. But this is the great, probably the great statement on friendship. It's not. It's the spoilers. Sam and Frodo go to Mount Doom, and at the point where they're walking up Mount Doom, Frodo can't make it any further. And there's a moment where, and it's in the movie as well, but you know that line, um, I might not be able to carry the ring, but I can carry you, Master Frodo. And he picks up Frodo and physically like hauls him up the mountain. That to me is almost like the final rendering, as it were, of the this friendship. But until we get there, finally Aragorn, who we met first as Strider, comes into his own. He finally accepts the fact that he is the heir of Isildur and the king of Gondor. That's where we have the death of Denethor. I believe it's in Return of the King. I got to admit, I kind of went through and just thumbed through and hit the highlights because I've read this so many times. I should know this, but the other thing is I've watched the movies enough that sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's in the third movie, but it was actually in the second book, or something like that. Anyway, already at I gotta watch the time. But this is Aragorn. It's the big battle between the forces of Mordor and the forces of the West, elves and men, and this is this has a lot of death in it, but it's the passing away of one age and the coming of a new age, and it left at this point sort of amorphous. It's not really clear what's going to come after, but this one is the one where it all kind of comes down. It's got the army of the dead. It's got the hill people. They're like forest people, wild men. They lived in Middle Earth before the coming of the men of Westerness. Nobody knows who they are, what they are. They just live in the trees, basically. And they see, there I go. There's the I lose track of my train of thought in the middle of a sentence, and then it's just all over, and I start going and yeah, trying to shift back to the book without saying or Fortunately for me, nobody's watching at this point. I get over those nerves. And yes, Frodo and Sam are in Mordor with Gollum, Smeagol, and they're headed to Mount Doom. And this is where Sam actually becomes the ring bearer. It's a little exclusive group, but Sam does become the ring bearer for a very small period of time. He carries the ring. He doesn't use the ring. I don't remember. Um, but yeah, so I guess I'm letting loose a lot of secrets, and um, it's also the final passing of the elves from Middle Earth. Everybody goes to the Grey Havens and sails off into the sunset, and including Frodo. So it sort of has a bittersweet ending. But it's also epic. Like the battle scenes in here, like Helm's Deep in the second one, the Two Towers, is great. But this is the battle in front of Gondor, Minas Tirith. The battle for Osgiliath is just insane. So it's a great book. It's a great like adventure, but lots of death. So that's the Return of the King. The king does return. We're gonna just put that over there. And then along the way, I had mentioned talking about The Hobbit, as well as the Silmarillion, which are in today's parlance prequels. Hobbit and Silmarillion. This one you can see. Look at that. Look at that. I've had this a while. I mean, it's already an old book. It was published. This one was published 1966. This is the 1966 issue. I got it. Actually, I might have stolen it from my dad, but I got it used. Obviously, I'm not old enough to have been around for the first printing of a 1966 edition. And but I've read it. I read it in several times, lots and lots of times. But what is it? What is it? It's our introduction to The Hobbit, to hobbits in general. This is where Bilbo Baggins, goes off with a party of dwarves, 13 dwarves. So he's the 14th to keep bad luck from happening, and a wizard, Gandalf. It's where we meet Gandalf. Gandalf's slightly a little bit different in The Hobbit, just because of his attitude isn't quite so dour, I think. He's a little bit more lighthearted, which is relatively speaking. And in that, so in that adventure, when Bilbo goes, they're going to go to the mountain Erebor, where it's the dwarf. It's an ancient dwarven kingdom. It was taken over by the dragon Smaug. They're going to go. They're going to take back the kingdom essentially, or at least steal some gold. And then along the way, that's where Bilbo finds the ring, the ring of power, Sauron's ring, the one that Frodo, his nephew, has to take to Mount Doom. And so this is that story, but it's also kind of like you get a sense of Middle Earth before there was this, impending doom of Sauron. You get a little bit of hints, but it's just Middle Earth as it was. So there's that. Toss that over there on the usually what's it. And then Silmarillion. I mentioned this one. This one is almost it's the backstory to the backstory. So it's got the ruin of Beleriand. There we go. Of the coming of men into the West, It's got um, of Tuor and the fall of Gondolin. There's all these stories actually that are referenced in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that aren't really they are not expounded upon in this. And it's almost like these are the working notes. In some ways, it feels like these are working notes for The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but these are by themselves um, the stories of Beren and Luthien, which is it's a song, it's an epic poem in some ways, but it's also the story that is referenced several times in the Lord of the Rings. So the Silmarillion, this one, because it has no connection, or I take that back. It doesn't directly tie into like Aragorn and Frodo and the hobbits, um, but it tells all that story of the men of Westerness and Gondor and the wizards, the Istari, the races of men. It also tells the story of Sauron, and we get to see Sauron and hear about the how orcs came to be. So there is that. This is again the writing is well, it's lyrical. It's it has that folk tale, but what's the word? Yeah, it's more. In some ways, it has that same kind of narrative power or narrative flow as an oral history. Again, it's a testament of Tolkien's backstory, Tolkien's own um, profession of a folklorist, an Anglo-Saxon folklorist. So, Silmarillion, those three books, Return of the King. In fact, Lord of the Rings, the series, all three of them, The Hobbit and The Silmarillion. If you haven't read them, you really, really should. In fact, you should go forth and read it. I haven't done that in a while, um, with good reason. Just felt corny. Feels funky. I was trying to turn this channel into something it didn't really want to be. So that's why we're sort of here where we are. Which brings me to 2019. Going forward, what's happening with the channel? What's happening with you, man? Well, 2018, like I said, I moved and there was a lot of upheaval. I was, I didn't know either the camera, like my phone, like I'm using now, right here. Hello, camera. Or my DSLR. There's a lot of things that I was still learning about them. I'm a slow learner when it comes to tech, and so there was. I didn't realize that my camera has a pretty good video editing um, software, so I should have, which I learned during National Novel Writing Month. Uh, and we're going to go forward with this as a kind of a. It's going to continue to be the same, but it's also going to be the changes are sort of the it's sort of what the channel's about. I try things out. I learn new things and I try them out here. I guess it's kind of a variety channel in that regard, but it's all about books. I keep it regarding books and publishing and printing and things of that ilk. Um, there's that. In fact, what was it going to be? Yeah. So, in fact, this is a good example right here. We're doing a live stream. I've been on for, according to my clock, says 19 minutes and 15 seconds. Yapping, and this is actually what happens behind the scenes, I guess you could say, of my book review. I can do 20 minutes of solid talking, and then I cut it down to 10. I really wanted under 5. I wanted these things to be 5-minute book reviews, but I find that I like the sound of my own voice. So going forward, maybe I'll lighten up on some of my self-criticism, like I did in 2018 was very much a growth year. Schedules settled down, I hope, and which So again, more of the same. The variety of like indoor static book reviewy kind of stuff, outdoor kind of vloggy kind of stuff. Uh, I really liked I really liked having in the middle of the year doing the news bits. Nobody else seemed to like it, but for me, it was like, hey, this is the publishing business side of it that I actually kind of enjoy. I worked for a book publisher for a couple of years, and I really enjoyed that looking behind the curtain at creating books. So that I think I'll try and bring back. The once a month deal. I don't know if we're gonna do the. You let me know how the live stream thing happened. How you found the presentation. Hopefully the sound's all right. Hopefully everything is good. I think what we're going to do for this first time is at about 30 minutes, I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to, let's see, is there a button? I'm trying to see my display here. Hopefully that wasn't too weird. I brushed the, and so at 30 minutes, I'll cut it off and we'll leave it there. Let me know in the comments if you caught this. I can see there's a counter and nobody's watching, but it's fine. You'll be able to see the playback, I hope. And let me know if you should try it again. And yeah, I get that I didn't announce it to anybody. I didn't plan ahead as a thing. I could have been on Facebook. Oh, the other thing about 2019 is I took down my website, MatthewReedMedia.com. So I'm gonna try it. What I'm gonna try is I gotta shift my shift the host. You're right. It's gonna be down for a little bit, and I'm gonna revamp it and do better about updating the website with content related to what I do. So there's that. But yeah, I got off track. The whole point was let me know if I should do this again at some point. I did plan it out. And I guess I'm almost to the end, which is fine. It looks like 30 minutes is a good chunk. How did it go 30 minutes? I'm now at 23 minutes, and it blows my mind that I could talk consistently just that way. Again, if this is the first time you've seen this, this is a book review channel, book related. I do comic books too, sometimes graphic novels when I find them. In fact, yeah, I actually wanted to talk about Illustrator, a comic book. I got a few minutes. We're gonna do this real quick. Reach. I put them too far out of range. So a friend of mine gave me Tales of Batman, Tim Sale. It's all Tim Sale art from early in his career, I guess. I'm not a big Tim Sale fan per se, except that I was reading comic books when Tim Sale was an illustrator or was an artist for the comic books I was reading. So I immediately, especially Batman. Yes, I'm a fan of Batman, and so it was really it turned on a light when I was reading this. When I was going through this reading, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike for this. The artwork, this right here, can you see that? Look at that. Oh, the darks, the lights, the contrasts. That image is it's like seeing my youth again, and someone being like, I know that guy. well, I don't know him personally, but I know his artwork. I didn't know his name, but dang. Um, so then, funny thing, I didn't even pay attention to what I was buying. It was just, again, Batman. This is Dark Victory, and the art is the what I remember from reading Batman. Lots of darkness and shadow, and the the distinctiveness of the features of people. It's all pretty angular, and there's like hard lines for bones and like cheekbones and such. And I bought this for my son, and then I started reading. I'm like, oh wow, I remember this. I remember this era again. Tim Sale, see that? Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb. Um, and I didn't even realize that Dark Victory was the was it called retcon at that point of um, Robin joining Batman. Robin, and yeah, there's that. Um, and it took me back. It took me back to seeing, not to seeing, but it just was one of those where I don't I don't really recall the art from before this, which was what 1990. Oh, so that's right. Okay, so this was actually closer to 2000. What does it say? 2011. Um, I was reading comic 2011. Weird thought, but no, wait. I get that all wrong. Um, I totally got that wrong. One of the things I have issues with is the collection, like the story arcs, these collections that originally published Batman Dark Victory, Absolute Batman, 1999. Okay, yeah, there we go. So this is a collection. This is the bound collection of a story arc from in the 90s, late 90s, 99. And um, that was again, it was remarkable. I was like, whoa, I remember this art. I remember reading not like the whole thing, but I do remember reading those some of those issues and picking them up. And uh, my comic book collection is ceased to be many years ago, but now uh, slowly my son's building his own. It's actually never mind. And then finally, just recently, I gave him because this is how really good artists work is they can change their style to what needs to be done. So Superman for all seasons. So it's cut up into like each spring, summer, winter, or spring, summer, fall, winter, like seasons, and each season is a piece of Superman's life. Not only that, but the art. So this actually is Clark Kent leaving Smallville for Metropolis, but it also is done in sort of a retro. I guess it's retro. I hate that word. Um, in a like that. That is much more like the old school Superman from the 30s and 40s. Real simple lines, and the he's not he's not jacked like a what do they call it, like a bodybuilder. He's not jacked like a bodybuilder. He's just a big guy. He's got muscles. He's a superhero. He's got muscles. Look at that. But it's not like we're not talking Mr. Universe muscles. Which, if you look at the old Superman, he was just a big guy. He wasn't really defined muscles. Hey, look at that. It's 30 minutes. I think we're going to call it. We're going to try and push the X up the screen on my phone and see how this works. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Hopefully I don't lose subscribers, because I just bore you. Sorry. Anyway, I hope to see you next time. There will be a next time. There will be a next time. Oh, yes. Ta.